Greetings, everyone, and welcome. I'm the Chancellor Soul Mike Boone. You've tuned in to another edition of Soul Facts, a show highlighting the history and music of legendary artists and preserving their legacies. In this edition features a lady who's a gifted vocalist, songwriter, and self-publisher, which makes her a Jill of the music trade. Soul Facts Spotlight artist, Miss Joshy Joe Armstead. Josephine Armstead, better known to the music world as Joshy Joe, was born on Sunday, October 8, 1944, in Yazoo City, Mississippi. Armstead describes her life as oppressive, living in the Jim Crow ways of the South. Her pastimes included church, school, and juke joints. The juke joints consisted of a hot-filled sex climate with smoke and blues music, with dancing and corn whiskey, operated by African Americans to release the tensions of racial division, unemployment, and inhumane treatment of black people in Mississippi at the time. Joshy's grandfather was a bootlegger and gambler whose nickname was Shine, named after moonshine. Her mother was a minister who converted after being raised in a sinful world. Armstead's mother was ordained by the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the only church that would ordain women in the 1940s during that time. Armstead's passion for music came to her naturally as a child, when her mother took her to church and being exposed to the juke joints, where she learned to drink moonshine at the age of 12, and academics that really shaped her. Joshie had an outgoing personality in school, playing basketball and participating as a soloist in the Glee Club at Yazoo High School. Her musical influences were Marian Anderson, and later blues singer Jimmy Reed.
You got me done what you want me, baby, why you wanna let go?
Her given first name, Josephine, became a nickname, Josie, from the kids at school, then was changed to Joshie, which she loved. They also called her Joe, which she didn't like because it sounded masculine. So she stuck with Joshie because it sounded different and had a nice spin to it. She would later add Joe as a middle stage name, using Joshie as a first, calling herself Joshy Joe. Joshie's musical journey began when she trekked around town with a band she joined called Little Melvin and the Downbeats. Armstead said that the band was lousy, and so was she. Melvin played guitar and was lead male vocalist, and she was the lead female vocalist. The songs they sang was mostly blues, and their manager A.J. Payton, who later became a judge, would get them small gigs every now and then. Armstead also sang in a club called the Silver Slipper in Yazoo City with Bobby Blue Graham. When her friends egged her to get on stage, with her confidence gained superior. She said it was mesmerizing and hypnotizing.
I said I pity the fool.
One morning, Joshie's mother woke her up and said, "Someone is here to see you." It was Ike Turner. The Ike and Tina Turner Review were playing in Jackson, Mississippi, 42 miles from Yazoo City. When Turner came through Mississippi, he called Joshie's sister Velma to come to his show. You see, Velma was Ike Turner's ex-wife, who he met at a place called the Beer Garden years ago. They married and later divorced. Velma attended the show and found out afterwards that Ike needed one more Ikeette. Well, she told him that Joshie was singing with a little band around town. Turner visited Armstead's house that morning and arranged for an audition at the Silver Slipper Club. The owner opened up the club that morning where Joshie sang Bye Bye Baby and won. Armstead packed a few things and the mother gave her $2 and she was on her way. Joshie said she didn't care if her mother gave her nothing. I am out of Yazoo City. At 18 years old, Armstead hit the road on the Chitlin circuit with the Ike and Tina Turner Review. Joshy Joe's road experience was fun at times, but could be rough. The Review didn't stay in 5-star hotels because of racial segregation in the Southern travels, but she said they joked and laughed a lot. But in the beginning, Joshie had to deal with the acceptance within the group. She says she never experienced the dynamics of 3-part harmony, and the girls, the Ike members, Eloise Hester and Dolores Johnson, weren't very nice to her. Armstead says she was the new country bumpkin. She said that each time things went wrong, they blamed her. One night, an incident took place on stage. While the Ikettes was doing the Ray Charles number, Nighttime is the Right Time, towards the end, there's a silence. The girls had this big yeah in harmony. Well, Ike heard who was wrong, and it wasn't Joshie at all. It was Eloise. Armstead said it was an polished show. The girls would talk and smoke cigarettes when they weren't singing. Well, Ike cut that out and fined them for smoking, talking, and even if they had a run in their stockings. The creation of the Ikettes' career was inspired by brother Ray Charles because he had the Raylettes. Ike took notes from Charles but envisioned his own unique original show. Well, like brother Ray, Turner took his first name Ike and called his girl group the Ikettes, like Ray as the Raylettes. Joshy Joe Armstead was one of the original first Ikettes in the beginning. While on the road, Ike and Joshie together composed a tune for the Ikettes called I'm Blue, the Gone Gone song. The song was recorded on Sunday, October 22nd, 1961 in Los Angeles, where Tina Turner provided additional background vocals and arrangements. Back with Find My Baby, I'm Blue, the Gone Gone song, hit number 3 R&B on March 3rd, 1962, and number 19 pop also on March 3rd. Since Ike and Tina Turner recorded for Juggy Murray Sue Records in New York, Ike decided to distribute the song to Atlantic Records sub-label Atco with a signed advance. With Ike Turner's solo credit name on the I'm Blue single, Joshy Joe never received any royalties nor credit for her participation for songwriter with Turner of any sort. Armstead would soon leave the Review and the Ikettes because of uncomfortable conditions and Ike's uncontrollable behavior. However, she admired Turner's business insight and recruiting talent. Joshy Joe absorbed a lot from him, a mental blueprint for a future state. Joshy Joe traveled to San Francisco, then landed in LA, where she stayed with some friends. She worked with singer-songwriter Charles Wright of the future group, the Watts Hun 3rd Street Rhythm Band, and a hustling friend of his named Bobby Lexington. Bobby came up with the money for them to record in a small studio. They made a record on some indie label that's now a collector's item. While in LA, Joshy Joe met songwriter-producer Luther Dixon and Florence Greenberg, founder of Scepter One Records. Dixon saw Joshie perform with the Ikettes and remembered her. Luther just inaugurated his production company and label called Ludex, distributed by Capitol Records, and asked Armstead if she wanted to come back to New York because he wanted to sign her. Well, Joshie jumped at the chance and thought it was a good opportunity because she said there was limited circles in LA and she didn't really know anybody, and that the city is so vast where New York was a whole different world. Plus, she had family there. Well, unfortunately, her deal with Luther Dixon fell through. She then began her association with Scepter One around this time. While doing steady work in a New York club, Joe Armstead began recording as a solo artist on various labels, starting with Never Try to Love No More, back with Lover's Lane on Deluxe in 1962. And sitting here thinking, back with Looking for a Lover Boy on Infinity in 1963 as Joe Armstead.
Sitting here thinking, got you on my mind, boy. I love you, baby. I thought you were mine. Oh.
Under the name Dina Johnson, rumored to avoid the track down from Ike Turner, the single releases continue with The Breaking Point, back with Mama's Boy on Wild Deuce. Mama's Boy back with You Turn Your Back on Me on Soiree, both in 1965, and a duet with singer Ricky Davis, Who Me, Yeah You, back with There's Gonna Be a Showdown, and I'll Never Let You Down, back with I'm a Sad Girl, both issued on Simpson in 1965.
When you get ready, honey, it might be too late. Yeah, you.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, you.
If I catch her hanging around now, there's gonna be a showdown. I will never let you down when you're not around. Don't worry, baby. Don't worry, baby. No, baby. But I'm that's what I am, mama. 'Cause my heart's in a jam.
The experience of being on the road with the Ike and Tina Turner Review and co-writing and recording songs with the Ikettes gave Joe Armstead more confidence to compose her own material. Being in New York, there was an atmosphere of a songwriter community that became a comfort zone for Joshie. During her association with Scepter Records, Armstead met a young aspirating singer-songwriter named Valerie Simpson in one of the publishing offices playing the piano. Joshie, joking, said in an interview that she stalked her. Simpson's partner Nick Ashford came back on the scene a couple of months later when Armstead welcomed him with open arms. The songwriting duo were recording artists known as Valerie and Nick and issued their first single on the New York-based global label distributed by Roulette Records entitled I'll Find You, back with Lonely Town in 1964.
I'll find you. I'll find you. Tell him I can't be found. Yeah, in Lonely Town.
The pair, along with Joe Armstead, will form a songwriting partnership under the names Ashford, Simpson, and Armstead. Music history in the making. Ahmed Antagon, co-founder and president of Atlantic Records, wanted to sign the songwriting trio. But co-partner AR producer Jerry Wexler didn't like him too much. So they went back to Scepter One, where Joshie knew Florence Greenberg, and it got signed instantly. Together, the dynamic songwriting trio penned such great classics as The Real Thing by Betty Everett on VJ in 1965,
Well, it looks to me like this could be the real thing. Well, it looks to me like this could be the real thing.
and two cover versions. First by Tina Brett on Eastern Records, a division of Sue Records, hit number 20 R&B June 19th of 1965.
Well, it looks to me like this could be the real thing. What you say, girl? Well, it looks to me like this could be the real thing. What you say?
You know, I just want to point out that the Eastern Silver label 45 with black letters issue was credited to publisher Ed Silvers. For other releases was credited to the Songwriting Trio. And of course, the Chiffons version of The Real Thing was released on Laurie Records in 1965.
Well, it looks to me like this could be the real thing. Well, it looks to me like this could be the real thing.
The trio's other pen classes include Too Hot to Hold, 1965, The Shoe Won't Fit, 1966, both recorded by Betty Everett and also issued on VJ Records.
Way down in my soul, and it's too hot to hold. Oh, baby, this is it. The shoe won't fit.
Say It Again by Marie Knight on Musicor, 1965.
Say it again, say it again, over and over, don't let this moment end.
Never Had It So Good by country singer Ronnie Millsap on Scepter Records, number 20 R&B on November 27th of 1965.
Never had it so good. No, no, never had it so good before.
Cry Like a Baby by Aretha Franklin on Columbia Records, number 27 R&B on December 24th, 1966.
When I'm alone, yeah, I just cry like a baby. I cry like a baby. Oh, yeah. Never had it so good.
You know, Ronnie Millsap's Never Had It So Good received huge airplay on R&B stations. But trouble brewed when Scepter Records began sending out publicity photos of Ronnie. The station managers saw that he was white, so they yanked the song. The Scepter promotion guys went out to the radio stations and asked why they stopped playing the song. The managers said they thought Millsap was black. The promotion guys said to them that all Ronnie's life, people told him that he was black, and he doesn't know any better. You see, Ronnie Millsap was born blind. The stations resumed airing the song. Nick, Val, and Joshie arranged the song and sang background vocals. Valerie Simpson, along with Paul Griffin, are featured on keyboards. You know, there's a great remake of the song by Chuck Jackson and Maxine Brown, released in 1967 as the B-side to their hit Hold On, I'm Coming, also featured on Wand Records.
Only once in a lifetime, the right girl comes along. And when you find her, brother, you better hold on.
Could I leave you, baby? No, I don't think I could, 'cause I
Never had it so good. Never had it so good before.
Joshie Armstead, Nick Ashford, and Valerie Simpson composed yet another masterpiece, scoring their first number one hit on the genius of soul, Ray Charles. The song, Let's Go Get Stoned. One day the trio was sitting in their office experiencing songwriter's blockage. So Nick Ashford said to the ladies, "Hey, let's go get a drink. Let's go get stoned." Well, they laughed at his statement while walking out the door. Upon their return, publisher Ed Silvers asked if they had written anything. They quoted, "Yeah, we got this great song," and began humming the melody and started ad-libbing Nick's humorous title of Let's Go Get Stoned. Well, Valerie would confess that they just made the song up. Ed Silver said to them, "Y'all joking, but if you finish the song, I'll give it to Ray Charles to record." Well, not taking Silver seriously, the trio finished the song, and as Ed Silver's promise, he delivered the song to Brother Ray. Well, that's one side of the story. The actual fact is, Ray Charles was just released from rehab after a 16-year heroin addiction. Charles heard Ronnie Milsap's version of Let's Go Get Stoned, which was the B-side to his hit Never Had It So Good, and loved it so much he decided to record it for himself. The song was originally recorded by the Coasters in May of 1965 on the Atco label. Ray Charles' version of Let's Go Get Stoned, back with the Loose Caboose swinger, The Train,
Let's do the train, baby, one more time now before you go home.
was recorded at his RPM International Studios in Los Angeles, California in late 1965, accompanied by Billy Preston on organ and the background vocals provided by the Raylettes. Issued as a single on ABC Paramount in May of 1966, this masterpiece bluesy recording hit #1 on Billboard's top-selling R&B singles on July 23, 1966, and number 31 pop on July 16.
You know my baby, she won't let me in. I've got a few pennies, I'm gonna buy myself a bottle of gin. And then I'm gonna call my buddy on the telephone and say,
Let's go get stoned.
Let's Go Get Stoned has been covered more than 10 times by artists like James Brown, Joe Cocker with Mad Dogs and Englishmen, Manfred Mann, and of course Ronnie Milsap's version, his B-side to his hit Never Had It So Good.
Let's go get stoned.
And so many others. Ray Charles recorded yet another classic composed by the writing trio called I Don't Need No Doctor, back with Please Say You're Foolin', number 49 R&B, December 31st of 1966.
I don't need no doctor, 'cause I know what's ailing me. Say it, come on and say you're fooling. Oh, say it's a lie.
Well, after the success of Let's Go Get Stoned, Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson were asked to join the staff at Motown Records in Detroit, sadly breaking up the trio. At one point, it became stressful for Joshy Joe because she said that she could feel that Nick Ashford really didn't need for her to be there, especially since it was her connections with Florence Greenberg that started getting their work out there. So, they went their separate ways.
You know my baby, she won't let me in.
You know, I would like to mention that there's a wonderful Kent CD compilation on the dynamic songwriting trio called The Real Thing, the songs of Ashford, Simpson, and Armstead, released in 2009, with 24 tracks recorded by various artists, with songs composed by Nick Ashford, Valerie Simpson, and Joshy Joe Armstead. The dissolution of Ashford Simpson's partnership with Joshy Joe Armstead in 1966 devastated her. She returned back to background studio work and cutting commercial jingles, but wanted a change of pace. So Armstead relocated to Chicago and moved in with a friend, planning her next move. She received a royalty check for Let's Go Get Stoned that Valerie Simpson sent to her in Chicago. Joshie didn't have a bank account, so she went over to this man who owned a steakhouse and a bar and was a racketeer that had a policy wheel, a numbers running organization. His name was QB Coleman. He was also from Armstead's hometown of Yazoo City, Mississippi. He knew Joshie's family and she knew his. Well, after a lot of food and drinks, she told him that she had this check to cash. Coleman was busy at the time, but told her to wait in his office and lie down after she felt woozy. Well, Joshie found his remarks offensive and told him off, but later regretted it. Armstead then sent the check back to Valerie Simpson in New York, where Valerie cashed it and wired the money to Joshie through Western Union. About a week or two, QB Coleman called Armstead and said that he had somebody in the music business for her to meet. Coleman had an interest in a record label with this guy named Melvin Collins. Collins had two operative labels, Gamma and Globe. Armstead and Collins met, soon formed a partnership, and founded Giant Productions in 1967 and produced a marriage afterwards. The husband and wife pair enlisted great talent like Little Jimmy Scott, Shirley Wells, Smokey Smothers, Joshy Joe herself, and among others. Joshie and Mel Collins would often have disagreements of the musical directions of the artists. Collins supported the blues, while Armstead moved towards R&B sounds. Against Mel's wishes, Joshie traveled to Detroit, Michigan to work with Andrew Mike Terry, baritone sax player for Motown Records, at Ed Wingate's Golden World and Rick Tick labels. Mike Terry was not only a top-notch musician, but a brilliant songwriter, producer, and arranger. The right ingredients for Joshy Joe's cookbook of soul. With the stroke of a golden pen, Joshy Joe Armstead composed a classic tune entitled Casanova, Your Playing Days Are Over, which was given to Rick Williams, founder of Zodiac Records, who passed it on to singer Ruby Andrews. Casanova, Your Playing Days Are Over, back with I Just Don't Believe It. Charted number 9 on September 23rd, 1967, produced by Mike Terry and George McGregor. Although Armstead wrote Casanova, two names were printed on the single instead. The name, Middlebrook, a pen name of her husband Mel Collins, who attached the name onto the single, splitting the writer's credit and royalties. Joshie was shocked and couldn't believe that Mel Collins would do such a thing. All her faith and trust in him went out the window. Armstead later said that she should have kept and recorded Casanova herself instead of giving it to Ruby Andrews. Being too emotional to comprehend his crooked motives, instead of leaving Mel Collins and dissolving their partnership, Joshy Joe married him to obtain community property, a stake in her future investment in royalties, and her master tapes. In the spring of 1967, Joshy Joe collaborated with two great singer-songwriters of Chicago, Syl Johnson and Jesse Anderson. Syl Johnson was a truck driver when Armstead met him. The two used to write in Johnson's attic. With co-writer collaboration with Jesse Anderson, the trio came out with a soul-socking winner, Come On and Sock It To Me. Back with Try Me, another dance classic composed by Joshy Armstead.
Try me, baby. Try me. Sock it to me. Rock it to me.
Come On and Sock It To Me. Charted number 12 R&B on September 9th, 1967 on the Twin Light label. Later changed to Twin Night because of label infringement.
When you in a crowd, you tend to get shy. But people know people, you know I'm your guy.
Joshy Joe Armstead was getting a good reputation as a songwriter and producer, but felt alienated from the record roll companies in Chicago, such as Curtom, Brunswick, and Chess. Armstead said that she was glad to stay independent because she wouldn't have been as effective as she would like to be, and she wouldn't have gotten paid. She was also happy to see that Mel Collins was an entrepreneur that got things moving on his own. But Collins wasn't a businessman. Armstead said that Mel did everything out of his back pocket. Promotion was more his bag. He'd promote records, hang out with the disc jockeys, run the bar, etc. Joshy's question in her mind was, where is this money going? But she's glad that he never interfered with the creative side of the business. QB Coleman was the key financial contributor, payola to be exact, for the duo's giant products, meaning prompt radio airplay and playlist additions. Giant products added to the disc jockey's list, but constant heavy song rotation, heard in various stations around the city. Joshy Joe resumed her singing roots and issued her first single on her giant label entitled I Feel an Urge Coming On, back with I Who Love You So in 1967.
I feel urge coming on strong. I feel urge coming on, yeah. The one and only one. Who loves you so?
Armstead charted 2 singles in 1968, including the spine-tingling A Stone Good Lover, back with The Urge Keeps Coming, number 25 R&B on June 22nd.
I've got a lover, a stone good lover.
And I've Been Turned On, back with Never Had It Like This Before, number 50 R&B, October 12th.
You turn me on. You showed me the joys of the world that separate the women from the girls. Hey, baby, you turn me on. Yeah, and I've never had it like this before. Never had it like this before. Oh, no.
While Armstead continued to spend most of her busy time in the studio, writing and producing artists on her label, she really didn't have the time to go out on the road to promote her own products.
Oh, baby, you gave me a treasure worth more than silver or gold.
Joshy Joe would release other singles on 2 labels, one on the Gamma imprint, including a duet with Lee Shot Williams with Love Now and Pay Later, back with Tighten Up Your Own Game in 1967.
I'm gonna love you now if I have to pay later on. Might have to pay later on. Now listen.
Come on and tighten up your game, yeah. Tighten up your game.
And on Jack Taylor's New York-based Taystar Records with No Better For Ya, back with This and That in 1967.
I said, look at you. You messed up your last chance. No better for you. No better for you. You got a little this. I got a little that. Everybody got a little this and that.
One evening in 1967, Joshie, along with Mel Collins, attended a show at Sutherland Lounge in Chicago and witnessed a singer who just won a local talent show at a club called the Trocadero, named Garland Green. They then invited Green to do a recording session in Detroit, and the result was a single released on the Gamma label called Girl I Love You, back with It Rained 40 Days and Nights, which sold pretty well locally. It was later distributed by MCA's sub-label Review Records for national distribution.
And I love you, girl, I love you. Listen to me, will you? And it rained 40 days and nights. Oh, it rained 40 days and nights.
Review issued 3 singles on Garland Green, including the classic You Played on the Player in June 1968, but was later reissued on Uni Records in March of 1970.
You played on the player. You played on the player.
By 1969, Garland Green was switched to the Uni imprint, MCA's main label. Joshy Joe Armstead studio time would pay off, collaborated with Green, Maurice Dollison, and Rudolph Browner, and composed a masterpiece tune called Jealous Kinda Fella. Back with I Can't Believe You Quit Me,
Since you told me you couldn't be tied down, you left this feeling with me. Can't believe you quit me.
Jealous Kinda Fella became a major success, reaching number 5 R&B on October 11, 1969.
I love you. I'm just a jealous kind of fella.
Jealous kind of fella.
You see, and another thing.
A self-titled album, Jealous Kinda Fella, was released in late 1969. Joshie said that working with Garland Green wasn't an easy task. He was very difficult and persistent. Even when he presented the song Jealous Kinda Fella to her, Joshie had to rearrange everything. Green and Armstead parted company after Garland left MCA. One single was re-released on Armstead entitled Never to Love No More, back with Lover's Lane on D-Lex. In 1972, a remake of Jealous Kinda Fella was recorded by Little Royal, half-brother of James Brown to be rumored, on the Trias label, a subsidiary of King Records, and retitled Jealous, a rap version of the song.
I got something to say right here. You know, I'm not jealous because I'm mean, honey. I'm jealous because I love you. And I don't want nobody else to have you. Now, you know what? If you got someone that you really love, you don't mind standing looking that person dead in the eye and tell them you really love them.
Joshie and Mel's last charted production hit was by Little Carl Carlton with Drop By My Place, back with Two-Timer, both composed by Joe Armstead and issued on Don Roby's Backbeat label, charting number 12 R&B on July 25th of 1970. Joshie also co-wrote and recorded sides with singer great from Chicago, Bobby Hutton, on the Phillips imprint with I Can't Stand a Woman, Two-Timing a Man, Come See What's Left of Me, Ooh Baby, and I've Got a Memory.
Come see what's left of me. No, come on and see what's left of me, baby.
In 1970, Giant Records would cease production due to never-ending debts. This would dissolve the marriage of Joshy Joe and Mel Collins. Armstead would claim community property, including songwriting and recording royalties, as stated earlier. Joshie returned to New York City, where she resumed her career writing and singing jingles. She was called by Columbia Records to do background work for Bob Dylan's 1971 single, George Jackson, a tribute to the Black Panther leader who had been shot and killed by guards at San Quentin Prison on Saturday, August 21, 1971. Dylan recorded the song at Columbia Studios B on Thursday, November 4th, 1971, and released it as a single on Friday, November 12th.
Lord, Lord, they cut George Jackson down. Lord, Lord, they laid him in the ground.
In 1972, Joshy Joe Armstead appeared in the Broadway production of Don't Play Us Cheap, written, produced, and directed by Melvin Van Peebles. This time around, Armstead met Al Bell, vice president of Stax Records. Bell remembered Joshy from the Chicago days in the mid-60s and wanted to sign her to the label, but at the time, her then husband Mel Collins and Joshy were building the Giant Productions instead, knowing at the time that independent labels were doing good income-wise. Stax made a deal to Al Bell to record a soundtrack of the play. Armstead recorded a demo for Bell, and he signed her to the label, where she recorded her highlight song from the play that was included in the cast album, You Cut Up the Clothes in the Closet of My Dreams. One could hear Joshy's powerful, unforgettable performance on vinyl.
You cut up the clothes in the closet of my dreams. You pulled off the sleeves and ripped out the seams. Got me a needle, oh, got me a thread, yeah, oh yeah. There may be.
Joe Armstead continued to do background work for Ashford Simpson's early LPs on Warner Brothers, and at Motown, solo projects for Diana Ross and Valerie Simpson. Joshy also starred in another Broadway musical called Seesaw, starring Michelle Lee, Ken Howard, and Tommy Tune in 1973. Upon recording for Stax Records on the Don't Play Us Cheap Broadway soundtrack, the label switched Armstead to their sub-imprint, The Gospel Truth, and issued her first single entitled I Got the Vibes, back with Right Out the Storm in 1973.
I got the vibes. You're sending with your eyes. Ride out the storm. Ride out the storm.
The demo that Joshy made for Al Bell in 1972 was a song composed by Armstead called Stumbling Blocks, Stepping Stones. What Took Me So Long. Back with Give a Little Lovin'. Stumbling Blocks charted number 91 R&B on June 1st, 1974, with orchestra arrangements done by Paul Reiser and recorded in Memphis, Tennessee. Joshy Joe says she was tired of running from one city to another and frustrated for not seeing the results she wanted. So she poured her heart and soul into Stumbling Blocks. The song was a therapeutic one for Armstead, mentally and emotionally. Joshy Joe returned back to New York and resumed her studio work for various artists, including songwriter-producer Burt Bacharach's 1977 album, Futures. Keeping busy, Armstead continued to manage Alonzo Ratliff, a Chicago welterweight, and develop a company called Ideals and Hunches. While in the midst of trying to retrieve her unpaid royalties, she designed women's clothing. She also lended her voice on Due to Circulation from the ABC children's program Schoolhouse Rock in 1979 and the Wiz movie soundtrack in 1978.
There's a great new craze that's sweeping the nation. Come on to the circulation. Starts with your heart, what a great sensation. Come on to the circulation.
In the late 80s, Joshie formed her second independent label called Preacher Rose and recorded 2 songs, In the Right Place, Back with A Twist of Fate, a duet with Alonzo Ratliff with In the Right Place in 1989, and Got My Taste of Honey back with Won't You Join the Band.
Got my taste of honey, got my taste of the sweet part. Won't you join the band on my caravan? Won't you join the band on my caravan?
Her label Preacher Rose soon folded because of non-exposure and lack of funds. Joshy Joe Armstead pursued her education by earning a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Arts at the New School of Social Research. Joshy Joe Armstead has over 150 songs or more registered with BMI Publishing. She licensed her giant and Stax recordings to Collectibles, who issued a Stone Good Lover in 1996, featuring singles from 1967 to 1974, and her compilation called Red Hot in 2005, on unreleased recordings, including her original demo of Stumbling Blocks, Stepping Stones. You know, the word recognition defines someone's appreciation or acclaim for an achievement. In the case of Joshy Joe Armstead, her achievements in the music industry is unmatched and will continue to be celebrated and appreciated not only to her legions of fans, but by others who honor her as a trailblazer for women who were discriminated and disrespected in the music business. Thanks to visionary innovators like Joshy Joe, we have some of the most powerful women executives owning record companies and running businesses. Let's just be thankful that the music outlives the woman. Till we meet again musically, I am the Chancellor of Soul.
I may not dress the best, I'll never win a beauty contest. Ooh-wee, I've got a lover, a stone good lover.
Soul Facts, a show written, created, produced, and copywritten by the Chancellor of Soul, Mike Boone, and is a non-profit music presentation.